So this is the first draft of this. I don't think it'll be the last, though. That's the amazing thing. So what I've done is I've rewrote the plot of Karate Kid. It's still set in 1984, but they're all adults working in an office. So, also, I've got to warn you at the top, some of the characters are representative of the 80s. That's not my voice, that's the characters. So, it's quite a harsh opening, but we'll get into it. Fuck you, LaRusso, you pussy dweeb! Johhny was coked up again, holding his beautiful new phone, a fresh sail being rung up on the board, a dab of powder still nestled in his blonde moustache. No wonder he was top broker or whatever that job for dickheads is. Sorry. Yeah, LaRusso, you pussy dweeb! Send him home in a body bag, Johhny! Ah! This is a good line. That was Tommy, Johnny's parrot, one of the Cobra Kai as they called themselves, named after their line manager, John Kreese, portrayed by Martin Cove, aka the Cobra of Cock Street. Cock Street was the unfortunate name that the building was on, by the way, of the street. Cock Street, Reseda, that shithole town that wasn't Jersey. Ah, Jersey. Home where Danny had been living quite comfortably before his mother was injured in an aerobics accident, simultaneously losing both her legs and destroying an orphanage. No Christmas goose for little Timmy this year, on account of him being killed at the orphanage. Those heinous non-radical jerks, they all had those phones, those tiny briefcase-sized phones. Danny's phone, in comparison, was the size of a suitcase and had to be wound up by a crank and housed in lead because of the radiation. So much radiation, it left a bald-sized tab clear on his scalp. I just wanted some 80s references in there at this point. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Damn those non-Jersey jerks. Danny wanted their phones so bad, but more so, he wanted Elizabeth's shoe. Johnny's ex-squeeze and future star of 1995's Leaving Las Vegas. Well, that night was the Halloween party, and maybe then, dressed as a shower, Danny could finally make his move. Nothing screams sexy like a grown man dressed like a shower. For time's sake, he did make his move, and that sure did rile up those Cobra Kai boys. Bobby had spotted it from the photocopier, where he was photocopying his ass, which is American for anus. They were going to fax it to the local church and then spit on some homeless people, all before getting a smooth, crisp Bud Light and doing some crack. I was trying to get the 80s in there again. But then, after spotting Elizabeth's shoe going in the shower costume, they decided to wail some hurt on little old 40-year-old Danny LaRusso. Fuck you, LaRusso, you pussy dweeb, they said as a hive mind, for a second hearing each other's thoughts, but they squashed it out because, geez, Johhny was into some weird shit. Anyway, they carried on and closed one of Danny's nostrils with a fist. You don't come from Jersey and hit on our girls, especially not Elizabeth Shue, who you'll only be with for a summer and then fall out of love with her and then fall in love with someone in Japan, which seems natural, but it's actually because Elizabeth Shue in real life is going back to study at Harvard and then she won't reprise her role in this office. I brought it back round, don't worry. Wham! Crash! More pain. Elizabeth Shue watched and cried as they hurt him some more. This was the 80s, man, and she was helpless to do anything physically or legally. Even though she had evidence Johhny used to make her dress up as an emu and peck at his balls. First draft's good, actually. Boy oh boy, Danny wished it was just fun. Oh yeah. Boy oh boy, Danny wished it was Johhny pecking his balls, but instead it was 4 grown men dressed as skeletons starting to take shits on him. They were trying to cover his radioactive tab patch. God, he was so weak and annoying. Why could he grow a beard full of glowing mushrooms, but he couldn't fight back? Why couldn't he? Peow! Oh my God! Foot to the face! Bam! Crash! Punch to the knuckles! Bash! Kick to the dick! Scram! Beat it, guys! That old Japanese man's a lunatic! Wibbly wuzzle! Shouted Dutch, the last of the Cobra Kai to be named in this sketch. And scram they did, but not before Johhny shouted, "You're dead, LaRusso, you pussy dweeb! Dead!" Danny stood up. Arm-sized pieces of shit started falling to the ground, along with a random room-temperature chicken nugget. That old Japanese guy was Mr Myagi, the ex-janitor at the local Megamart arcade, the one where they had the super cool new Pac-Man machine, and occasionally you'd spot Jeff Bridges. He was fired, though, for beating up the kids all the time, and possible alcoholism. That's Mr Myagi, not Jeff Bridges, by the way. But give the guy a break. His wife was dead, he clearly had PTSD, and at night, the faces of the people he killed used to haunt him in the mirrors. It gets dark at times, actually. "Hey man, where did you learn to fight like that? You gotta teach me," said Danny LaRusso, covered in shit. "I'll teach you," said Mr Myagi in an accent I'm definitely not doing. And teach them he did, but not before entering him in the office karate competition, which he full well knew Danny would not be ready for. Not that Danny thought he was being trained, mind. From Danny's point of view, all he did was go over to Mr Miyagi's house, paint his walls, wax his car, and wank him off. He wasn't learning karate at all. Finally, Danny snapped. "Hey man, how is this karate? I'm painting your house, waxing your car, and wanking you off 6 or 7 times a day. I can't fight head broker cool guy Johnny Lawrence, not with these calluses." Yeah, that one's quite horrible. Mr Myagi looked annoyed, but also worried. It'd be dark soon, and the mirror people would be back. He had to convince Danny that he'd learned some karate, so he'd leave lovable old Mr Myagi to hide in his mirrorless ghost-proof panic room and scan the newspapers for evidence of vampires. Side note, by the way, in the backstory, his wife was killed by vampires. It's not important. "Danielson," he said, and then went to punch him whilst naming all the things Daniel had been doing. "Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, paint the house, wank, wank, wank." Miraculously, not a blow was landed on Danny, and Danny was convinced he knew karate and was ready for the tournament, even though he'd only been there about 3 hours. The tournament was held at the office. John Kreese and the Cobra Kai were coked up to fuck nuggets, and the guy in HR agreed to turn a blind eye if they could get some tokens for the tuck shop. "Mars bars all round, motherfuckers!" exclaimed Dave from HR. Danny did pretty good, but in the final, in an illegal move, Johhny swept the leg and the bone popped out, which the first aider tried to close with a stapler and some blue tack before admitting they just wanted 3 days off and never went to the course. But Johhny couldn't wait for the first aider. He was in a coke rage, as were all the Kai. The office smelled blood and they went feral, descending on Danny and eating him. Yeah, it's a twist. Kiefer Sutherland dropped by to join in, and Myagi realised the whole office were vampires. They'd had enough of this supernatural bullshit, and Mr Myagi powered up. His power level was over 9,000. It's a Dragon Ball Z reference. The entire Kai clan and Jane from the 4th floor tried to get him, but he slaughtered them, wearing Jane like a onesie after punching a skeleton out of her skin. Finally, only he and John Kreese were left, and they powered up to their final forms, near godlike. It was beautiful. Elizabeth Shue had been caught in the crossfire and inadvertently was sent to the Phantom Zone, aka Harvard. After 4 long days of fighting and realizing they weren't at full power, Myagi ripped John Kreese's nose off with so much force, Reseda was leveled. "Myagi, you pussy dweeb!" John Kreese shouted nasally. "Have everything!" And they just wrote "ah" for 4 lines. And John Kreese launched blow after blow, but wank, wank, wank! He couldn't hit Myagi, blocking them all until there was a gap which he used to mush John Kreese's head and make him dead. 80s style. When he landed, he saw all the mirror dead people around him, and a phone was ringing. Johnny's phone. He answered it. "Hello, Myagi speaking." It was Danny, saying they were all at peace at last, including his wife, who casually mentioned John Kreese was the vampire who killed her. And he hung up, and all the ghosts, his wife and Danny, went to hell. These days, only the arcade and the sign for Cock Street are left in Reseda, and they say you can still hear the blows of the battle echoing in the radioactive skeleton skulls if you go down on anniversary night of the tournament, which was actually 36 years ago this very night. And that's it!